everyone, hope you are doing fine. Never try to catch these fast spike you see in the 5-minute time frame. The price is really moving too fast. And you may have, this is no longer the case now, but for a few seconds, you may have a bad spread. You can see that now the spread begins to be smaller. So we begin to see normal spread. So always wait a few minutes before considering any action. What we can do in the meantime is to set the MTM on 2 pairs, and I will consider, for example, the pound Kiwi here. This way, and let's say the pound yen, which are the 2 best pair for the moment based on the currency meter in the context of this news release. Okay, now let's wait for an entry setup. So a short entry setup on the pound yen, and also a long entry setup on the pound Kiwi. That's strange. The Kiwi is strong, so we should see I will look for a short setup on the pound Kiwi too. So I need to wait for the trend to reverse here. I'm going to reduce the distance of our cross indicator because they are too far away from the price. Let's just draw it closer to the price, and similarly here for the pound Aussie. In such a way we can see when the 2 ETF lines have crossed. Okay, now let's see for an entry setup. So I will move my stop loss closer to the price, of course, just to be ready on the appropriate moment on both charts. While you are waiting, you can always prepare every details of your chart, and I like to use an horizontal line to represent my price level. So this is an entry setup. My stop loss size is here we can see 12. I can reduce a little more my, you see the price is going too fast, so no time to take that trade. So let's wait for the next one. The price is moving really fast. This is another entry setup. Okay, I sell. Now I am in a trade. My stop loss was around 12 pips. You can see 12 pips, and I will try to make an exit with 1.5 times my profit. So if the price moves 18 pips plus the spread is 1 pip, so 18 plus 1, 19 pips. So at this proximity there, I will make an XXX. And in a scalping context, I prefer to make an XXX with my 2 units. And when you scalp, so it's difficult to consider a trade with another pair, so simultaneous trade. Sometimes we have this strange behavior with the pizza trading indicator. So we have just to refresh the indicator. And be quick to push on the button if the price reaches your target profit. You can set, of course, in the order the target profit automatically, but I always prefer to execute my order manually because it depends how the price will move around the level I have fixed for my profit. So, because if the price makes a fast movement crossing my target profit, I can stay a little longer in the trade. Another possibility will be on the target profit to make an MX, set the stop loss at break even, and keep the second unit running as long as possible. Yeah, Francis, a quick draw. It is not that the price is moving fast. It's simply that the bars are printing fast due to the size of the bars. But if you feel uncomfortable with a 2 pips length, you can use a larger one, 3 pips, 4 pips. But the idea is to have a small size bar, or bar size, in order to catch even small movement. You see here I'm catching a movement of around 15, 17 pips, which is a small movement, and with volatile pair this can happen very quickly, in fact. And when you feel comfortable enough, you can consider using 2 pairs to trade, so simultaneously. But this requires a lot of practice. Let's pay attention here because it can go very fast. The pound is still losing strength. The yen is gaining strength. And when you scalp, for example, the pound CAD can be scalped long, but if you take another pair short, avoid that situation because you have two different logic. Going short with one, going long with the other, you can be misled by one pair when you control the other one, and so you can make mistakes pushing on the wrong button, so to apply your decision. So this is why scalping several pairs simultaneously may be extremely delicate. So choose one and stick to it as long as the trade is opened. And when you trade with a pair which is especially volatile, so don't tighten too much your stop loss. You see the stop loss is for the moment at 17 pips, 18 pips from the price. Do not tighten it too much because if there is an increase in the volatility, you can be stopped out very too early. This is why a small risk per trade is always for me a better approach. This will help to keep enough distance between the price and the stop loss. But the trade, of course, can fail. Any trade can fail. It's not because you are following the bias that the trade will necessarily succeed. It can fail. even if the context is appropriate to go short for the pound yen. So there may be retracement large enough to make your short trade failing. A long scalp on the pound CAD would have most probably succeeded already. You can see the price has moved. Oh no, not yet, not yet. Now that the news is released, the prices are moving very slowly again. So we just need patience. What is the pound Aussie doing? Or the same type of movement? So my charts are frozen. It's rare that this broker freezes the charts, but sometimes it happens. The trend is still long on the pound kiwi, so no short trade on the pound kiwi for the moment. Will the price succeed to break this support level? The price is certainly ranging, and we can check also on the 5-minute time frame. Yeah, it is the case. If the price succeeds to break this level, there will be a chance for the price to reach the target. Oh, no, Jen, personally, I don't like to scalp. It is not my style of trading. Okay, it's not my style of trading, but I want to show you, this is the aim of the workshop. A workshop is not a trading room. It's, there are sessions we organize, and with some trades example, I illustrate several possibilities you can use with the max. So in this case, it was the workshop on the max sum. So the aim is to show you several approaches we can use, several trading styles we can use with the max sum. And so we are in the context of weak pound, strong yen, because we have bad numbers on many countries for their economies. The euro was the case in Germany, especially. The yen, no, the yen was not so bad. The CAD was bad. The US dollar was bad. And so when we have bad numbers, the corresponding currency usually weakens, depending on the size of the surprise. Bigger the surprise is, larger the movement will be. We did not get a big surprise here, so the movements are not so important. But when I check on my currency meter, I see that the best currencies to consider were the yen and the pound. And so this is why I have taken this first trade on the pound yen, and it is in agreement with my directional bias. So a weak pound, a strong yen, so this means we can short the pound yen, and this is precisely what the directional bias is showing. But as I have said, because we have not seen big surprises, I don't expect big movements. Now, don't be impressed by such kind of movement, for example, on the pound card. First of all, the news was not a big surprise, so the movements are not so important. You see, 10 pips here, around 10 pips, so not big movement. Hold on 1 second, I have to set my phone. I have to load the battery of my phone, otherwise I will have problem with my phone. So just a moment. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, of course the euro-yen is falling. I'm not surprised. Unfortunately, the euro-yen was not in the list of the pairs to consider today. So what we try to do in our news watch list is always to propose the pairs which have the best opportunities, but this is never a guarantee, of course. We may always have some different surprises, so in the price behavior, because of course we may have other events happening outside the news release. But I like to stick to the pairs which are suggested every day, because on average, if you consider 1 month, they are the best moving pairs. And so you will have the best opportunities on average with these pairs. Okay, now it seems that the price will begin to move. It's already beginning to move on the pound kiwi. But as I have said, I don't like to have, in such kind of trading style, 2 trades simultaneously. It requires too much concentration. Now you can see that we are approaching the target. We are at less than 5 pips, which is 1/3 of the entire target. When you see that, so you can consider tightening a little bit the stop loss. The stop loss size is approximately 25 pips, so you can tighten it. For example, here we can see on the chart we are above the home base channel. You can consider to tighten it just above the home base channel. That way, reducing almost by half the risk on that trade. And the stop loss size is still large enough. We have approximately 20 pips between the present price and the stop loss. So 19 pips. So it's large enough. Now the market seems to move. We can see the pound CAD is moving upward as expected, with the bad news on the CAD. So the CAD is weakening. We never know, in fact, which pair will begin to move first, making its movement, its nice movement first. And so this is why you have to take 1, 2 pairs, 1, 2 trades, if you can handle them, 3 if you can. Never in scalping, but if you use a more usual trading style, trading 2 pairs, 3 pairs simultaneously is not a problem, especially if you have a tool like the MTM. I will make an MX just to show you. Ready? MX. Okay, now I'm making an MX, and you can see that now I am more than break even. You see, now the price is moving nicely to the downside. I can keep that unit running, and I will set my stop loss at minimum at break even +1, for example, locking a small profit. And then you have the choice to close the thing. We can even tighten more the stop loss that way. You see, keeping your stop loss 2, 3, 4 pips above the max price channel here, locking a profit which was equal to the risk. Okay, and then you can let this unit running. And to close the second unit, you have several choices. You can close it once you will have an exit setup. You can close it when the trend will reverse, or you can close it when you will achieve a profit which is good for you. For example, if here I see a 0.5% profit, so 2 times my initial risk, I may consider to close this trade too. And then focus on possibly another trade. And in the meantime, if you can tighten the stop loss, you can do it to lock more profit, but try to keep a stop loss large enough, for example, not too less than 10 pips. So I will just tighten it 1 or 2 pips. That way, locking a little more profit. Now I'm making a little more than 1 hour profit as a locked profit. And the first variant of scalping is, of course, to close the 2 units on your target, of course. And so you have all these possibilities. And so you can choose the variant you feel comfortable with. But practice first before choosing one option. You have, first of all, to check if scalping is, you feel comfortable with scalping, because scalping requires a lot of attention, a lot of concentration, depending on your trading plan. So in your trading plan, you have to define where to make your, you have to define where to place your stop loss, where to place your first target profit, how you make your second, how you close your second unit. And so all these scenarios must be defined before you begin to trade in order to be prepared to take the necessary action depending on what the price will do. You will have to follow your plan, in fact. And the aim is to catch always at least a 1 hour profit or more. Larger your profit will be, better you will be armed in the case your trade, one of your next trade will fail. So and so in this case, I will close the trade either on the stop loss or when my XXX profit will reach 0.5%, so 2 hours. Remember, my risk was 0.25%. In such a way that we will have perhaps the time to consider a second example of a scalp trade. With a $10,000 account and a risk of 0.25%, the trade size will not be a big size. You can see on the terminal panel, you see 1 mini lot, 1 mini lot. But you can choose also a 0.5% risk. There is no problem for that. But always a small risk compared to the risk you usually use for your trade. If you are used with a 2% risk per trade, use a 1% or less for your scalp trade. If you use a 1%, use a 0.5% or less for your scalp trades. And this kind of trading may be suitable when there is not much momentum in the market with small movement, no big surprise in the news release, or when there is a big surprise but the market does not react as expected. This sometimes happens. And in fact, what I'm observing since several years now is progressively the market has a tendency to react differently more and more often than it was used to react in the past. In the past, when we had a big surprise in the market, the price was moving in the direction of the surprise. Now, sometimes and more frequently, the market moves in the opposite direction. That's really strange. This means that the philosophy of trading by the big boys is also changing. And in fact, it's easy to understand. The big boys are more and more often using algorithmic trading and even artificial intelligence. And this helps us to take into account many more informations. The human brain is only able to handle few informations. With artificial intelligence, so a software, an algorithm can take into consider many more information, and so they are able to exploit many more fundamental data in such a way that possibly the news of today are less important than a news which has been released 2 days ago, for example. And so they take their trade in accordance, in agreement with a more global picture of the news. And other factors, of course, because not only the news move the market. So, yeah, there are several pairs you can consider, Craig. Of course, the Aussie CAD. The Aussie CAD, yes, why not? Look here on the currency meter. You have here the CAD is this line here, which is weak, and the Aussie is this line. Not necessarily the best pair, but in terms of scalping, that's okay. In terms of scalping, that's okay. Yeah, we have also, you see, 23 pips with the pound yen if we close the trade now. We have taken 18 pips with the first unit. If I close the trade now, I take 21 pips with the second unit. So, but as I have said, I will close this trade either on the stop loss or if the price moves in such a way to have a 0.5% profit here. Yeah, 32, yeah. Yeah, this is the kind of movement we are seeing for the moment, so rather small movement. We can see it especially on the 5-minute time frame. So the price has made a spike on some pairs, and then the price is moving sideways around that spike. Now, of course, what you can do when you are stuck in such a trade and you see the price hesitate to move, you can scratch your trade, take the profit you have, and if you see another pair nicely moving, you can switch on that other pair, of course. You have plenty of opportunities to explore. But I still like this pound yen because I see the yen still strengthening, the pound still weak, so we are simply seeing here a pullback before most probably the price will resume the down movement, except if the pullback is large enough to hit the stop loss. But I don't worry because the objective is made. So, but if we can catch more profits, that will be, of course, better. And this requires patience. Oh, yes, Craig, sure. The problem is we never know when exactly. We never know exactly when. It may be in 1 minute, it may be in 1 hour. Oh, have I my price levels here? I don't have a 4-hour price level here on the pound yen. I wonder if I have the correct price level. Let me check quickly. Because I'm using another platform here, and I'm not sure I have transferred the template for the price level of this week. I am 1 week late with my levels. I have forgotten to take the last updated levels. This is why I don't have the max price level. No, I'm still using on this platform the levels of last week. I use this platform for live sessions because this is a broker. The broker is named TradeView, so rarely freezes the platform during a news release. And its advantage is it has very small spread. Now, I do not recommend necessarily this this broker. If you Google for this broker reviews, you will see good reviews on this broker. But don't forget, you have to investigate further if the broker has no problem with his customers, and whatever the broker you want to choose to open an account, you have to check that the broker will accept you as a customer, because there are agreements with between countries, and so sometimes some customer or some broker have to refuse opening an account for some customers coming from countries. For example, US broker may not accept a customer coming from, let's say, I don't know, let's say from some countries of Middle East, for example, or some countries of Asia. So this depends on the agreements between the countries. Okay, let's pay attention here. So if the price moves an additional 14 pips, approximately 14 pips, so around 0.60, so we will be at our target, and 0.60 will be around here, this level, which is not impossible because it is just the next tiger tunnel approximately. The yen is regaining strength, the pound is losing strength again, so probability is good. Now, when you use such kind of scalping trading styles, don't use the usual exit setups, because with the usual exit setups, you will have too many of them, and usually you will be late in your decision, because you have many more bars when you use a small bar size. And so with a small bar size, you will have many more bars, so many more details in the price movement. And so you will see always such kind of pullbacks. If you react on each of these pullbacks, so you will exit too early from your trade. With a scalping approach, it's better instead to define a price, a profit target, and then close your trade on the profit target. And so my advice is to fix a target for an MX minimum at 1 hour, and then keep your second unit to try to catch a global profit of around 1.5 to 2 hours. 1.5, we are at 1.5 hours because my risk was a 1/4%. So 1.5 times 0.25 is 0.375. So we are at this profit target. So we can close the trade now. But my target profit, global profit, as I have said, was 0.5%. So 2 hours. And because the context is appropriate, we have a strong yen, we have a weak pound, and the distance the price has to move is around 13, 14 pips. So it's not a big movement. So I will stick to that profit target, so, or the stop loss, of course. But always take your scalp trade in agreement with the bias and with the context. This way you will increase the odds. You will have the odds in your favor to succeed your trades, or most of them. If you consider a global profit of 2 hours for your scalp trade, so you need to be profitable 1/3 of the time just to be break even. So if you succeed to have more than 33% winning rate with your scalp trade, you will be profitable. With a 1 hour target profit, you need to be winning more than 50% of your trades. And with 1.5 times your risk, you need to be winning more than 40% of your trades. So you need to have these numbers in mind just to fix what your profit target can be and feel comfortable with that. The distance of the stop loss is around 18 pips. You see 18 pips, 18.5. I can reduce just a little bit my stop loss, but not too much. Not too much here, that way. In such a way that my locked profit is still increasing. We are approaching my profit target. See, it would be around the Tiger Tunnel here, approximately. Ready to make an X66. Okay, I will make an X66 now, looking 0.5% profit. Okay? You see, the trade has been closed. My target profit has been reached. I don't care now if the price moves further, but I have made my 2 hours profit. Okay? And now we can wait for the next opportunity on the same pair or on another one. And don't be surprised, as it is the example here, that after you close your trade, the price seems to make a larger movement to, you will have other opportunities, okay? We can see on the terminal panel that the trade has been indeed closed. You see the trade is closed, and if you go into the account history, you will see the two steps here on the pound yen. Each unit was 1 mini lot, and so you can see the profit here for each unit. Okay? Well, let's try to see another opportunity. Now the price, of course, is moving, making a long bar. You can see that on the 500 time frame. So we will need to wait for an appropriate pullback. But in the meantime, I can, of course, make my stop loss closer and the line I use to fix my target profit for the MX also at the proximity of the price. We can stay on the same pair, or we can consider, of course, another pair. But for the moment, the best pair is still the pound yen. As you can see on the currency meter, the pound is the weakest currency, the yen is the stronger currency. And before you consider another trade with the MTM, don't forget to reset all the numbers in such a way that the MTM calculator can take into account the new balance. And by doing that also, you will have to remove the stop loss closer. So I'm waiting for another short trade. Will we have the time for a second trade? Yeah, we have 3/4 of an hour. So any questions about what I have illustrated here for the moment? This candle could be a setup bar. Let me check if it is a valid one. Yes, it is a valid one. And so I will take another trade here, sell. And so my stop loss size is around here. So 14 pips. So plus the spread, which is, let's say, 2 pips, so 16 pips. I will set my first target at 16 pips. And 16 pips will be right here, approximately on the dagger tunnel. Yeah, it will be there. And I will repeat exactly the same process. Now, when you use a currency meter, you have to pay attention to one thing, because this trade is riskier than the first one. The reason is the following. When we check on the currency meter, the pound has a very weak strength, so below the 1 level. When the strength drop below the 1 level, you have to expect some reversal for the currency, not for the pair, but for the currency. And so the pound can gain some strength at any moment now. This does not mean that the strength will be important, but the trade becomes a little riskier. And so this could be a reason, for example, if the price reaches the target profit to close, in this case, the 2 units instead of 1 unit and keeping 1 running unit. So as soon as you see the risk becomes larger, you can close your 2 units instead of 1 unit. But even if this trade is closed on the stop loss, the 2 trade globally cannot be losing, because I have made a 2R profit on the first trade, and here I'm risking 1R on the second trade. So globally, in the worst case scenario, I will be positive plus 1R. So you see, no problem to take that second trade. And you see, in the meantime, you would have had the possibility for another trade in the pound cat, with probably another succeeding scalp trade. Yeah, indeed, correct. Or 30 pips in the pound yen are usual movements. In fact, when you consider, especially in the 5-minute time frames, let me take my pen, if I can just illustrate that. Let me choose another color. I think the yellow will be nicely seen. When you consider a down movement, you will see movement like that. Okay. And if you measure the average length of all these down movement, you will find something between 20 and 30 pips, typically for a pair like the pound yen. And so you can, if you make these kind of statistics, so you can use these numbers for potential target profits in your trades, in your scalp trades. And when you see the price, so staying around your entry price level or even pulling back above your price level, don't panic. These are normal movements before the price moves, and don't be tempted to scratch your trade too early. If necessary, leave the price, hit your stop loss. Because if you scratch your trade too early, what will happen very frequently is the price will make some pullbacks, and then at some point will resume the movement you were trading. But if you have stopped, if you have scratched your trade, you no longer participate in this movement. And most of the time, you will close your trade with either a very tiny profit or with a loss, an unnecessary loss. So once in scalping, once you have defined your risk and your target profit, it's a set one and forget. So leave the price making its movement, either to the stop loss or to your target profits. If you trade at any moment the appropriate pairs, and if you have reasonable objectives, then you will have more than 50% winning trade. And if you choose a global reward to risk ratio larger than 1.5 R, you will be profitable. You see, there was another possibility in the pound kiwi, but the pound kiwi is still in an uptrend with, now the trend is changing. Now the trend is changing. So you will have opportunities to scalp the pound kiwi to the downside. So this is a setup bar. No, it is not a valid setup bar. The VNI is not pointing downward, so no appropriate condition to scalp yet. Now this one is a valid setup, and so we have another. Sorry, no, it has not closed below the ETF lines. No. So patience. This one will be a good setup, most probably. Yeah, and then you see the price can move very fast. And this is why scalping two pairs simultaneously may be somewhat difficult. So let me mark the chart just to have an idea where the price will go on this pair. But I cannot handle personally the two pairs in scalping style and explaining what I'm doing. I'm not a robot, and I do not want to be a robot. You see here, if you take a stop loss of around, let's say, 10 pips, you can have a first target profit at 10 pips plus the spread. and then try to keep the second unit to achieve a 1.5 or 2 hours profit. $10 should be around the Tiger Tunnel, yes, plus the spread on the pound yen, the spread is $2, so $2 below the Tiger Tunnel. This would give you the first target for the pound yen, the pound kiwi. And now it seems that the pound yen is coming back. The price has already moved half the distance it has to move. And the pound kiwi, almost 12 pips will be here in this area. Be ready for the XXX on the pound yen. Oh no, the price is retracing. Now the stop loss is at 33 pips. We can tighten it a little bit this way just to reduce the risk. Try to keep with these volatile pairs, even in scalping, a stop loss size above 12-15 pips, but no less, just to take into account the volatility. And you can see that with a smaller range size, the lines for adjusting your stop loss are too close to the price, and so a small increase in the volatility can hit your stop loss if you tighten your stop loss too much. And again, the platform is freezing, the data feed is freezing. But I can still see on my currency meter that the yen is gaining strength, the pound is still weak. Okay, the price continued to retrace. You see, during the platform was freezing, so the price has just hit the target profit. I wish you a great rest of the week, a nice weekend, nice trade next week. Pay attention, because while we will be approaching more and more of March 29, which is the date, the official date of the Brexit, so we may have some surprises, especially for the pound pairs. So be prudent with the pound pairs. Okay? Thanks, Roger. And so have a good rest of the day, good weekend, and see you next time in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, take care. Bye, everyone.